Hello, friend. You're welcome to this discussion on creative thinking and how to get out of the box. It's very important to know what to do and how to get out of the box. If you have followed my recent discussions on entrepreneurship, you agree with me that business ideas and actions in the right direction will produce entrepreneurial output that is expected. And in most cases, it takes thinking out of the box to yield or to produce such business idea that will excel. Now, when someone is asking you to think out of the box, what does it mean? We have agreed that it's important to think out of the box because it produces the solution we need. So, what does it mean to think out of the box? Many of us growing up could remember experience where you've been asked to do something you find it difficult doing. For instance, I'm not a very wonderful singer, and then I know growing up, people were trying to encourage me on how to be a good singer. They tell me how to behave, how to put my lips, how to pronounce words to make sure I sing better. I tried all of that and it was quite difficult. And that is how difficult it is to a lot of people to think outside the box. When you're asked to share creative ideas, when you're asked to produce innovative solution, sometimes it's very, very difficult, if not in most cases. Now, why is that so? Why do we need to go out of the box? Inside the box, we feel safe. Inside the box, we share information together. We are connected to one another. So we are comfortable. And so it becomes very, very risky to leave your comfort zone. If you do, people may not understand you because you may begin to discover what others don't know, which may inform your future actions. It will form your behavior. You get out of the box and you begin to see what others are not seeing within the box. And that could begin to inform your new disposition. And at such moments, people may easily misunderstand you. You may run into crisis with others. So why do we need to go out of the box? Going out of the box is quite essential if we must develop innovative solutions that can improve our integrity and our success in life. So out of the box lies something we need, something that will enhance our integrity, something that will make sure that we succeed. But when you try to go out of the box, people will think that you are losing the integrity you have, that you are losing the success you have gained already. So it may actually become quite challenging because in doing so, you will likely find out solution beyond what you're already using. And so even when it's not solution that is peculiar to you, it may lead to solutions that others need. And so which box are we talking about here when we say you need to step outside the box to think? The box doesn't represent our mind, please. Of course, we can't think outside our mind. It's not possible. We use our minds to think. So, the box we are talking about here is the mental boundary that separates us from what we know and what we have not thought about. You need to get that. What we know and what we haven't thought about, not what we don't know. What you don't know, others may know, and they may find out and teach you. But this is something you have not thought about. So which box are we talking about here? Our mind is what? What is our mind? Our mind is basically our natural heritage. The environment around us, it limits us. Of course, our education, our experience, our successes, our failures, all of them contribute to who we are. That is our mind. That is the box we're talking about here. All of this make up the ant hill in which we live safely, in which we are comfortable, we are connected. So that's the box we're talking about. Your experience, your successes, your failures, what people have taught you in school, that is the solution. So outside the box is quite invisible to us. We don't know what is there. We don't know what is outside the box. This is why it is very risky. That is, what is outside is essentially our dignity, is our success in life. However, it is extremely difficult to do or to go for because we don't know what is there and people are not there. We are rather comfortable with what we know. Let me take you to this very important story. Something that happened in 1939, University of California. This young man called George came into the class. He actually had he walked into the night the previous day and slept very late. So in the morning he woke up late and rushed to the classroom. When he got to the classroom, he saw that the professor had already finished the class and left two questions on the board. So he quickly copied the questions, supposing it was homework. So he went back home and solved that question. He solved the two questions, came back to his professor, Newman, and asked him, please, I hope you don't mind collecting mine even though it's late. The professor collected it, went through his work, and discovered that George had solved two unsolved problems in statistics. The professor actually wrote those equations to show them that no one has been able to solve it. It wasn't an assignment to the class. And so he left it there. So this guy came, he was not educated, he was not informed, he did not follow the norms, what others know. He saw it as something meant to be solved. And so he went out to solve it. That was actually what earned him his doctorate degree. You see, his story would have been a different story if he had arrived at the time when the professor was actually explaining the two equations as unsolved problem. But incidentally, he wasn't there. And his story illustrates the power of thinking outside the box. When we have not allowed our education to limit us, what we know, what others tell us that is the solution, when we have not allowed it to limit us, we tend to limit ourselves because of what we know and what we have labeled to be impossible or unachievable. And that was what happened to his case. So he was able to achieve that solution because he wasn't there when others were told that this is not possible. So how do we go out of the box? Remember, we have said inside the box, we are connected with one another. We have our dominant ideas. When we think of something, immediately what comes to mind is how it should be done. The conventional idea, how everybody does it. Because that is how it has always been. This is how it should be done. And so that is what we think when we are thinking within the box. But let me refer you to the story of this young man who decided to think otherwise. He was 13 years old in 2013 and he lived in Benin City. The family had a farm close to the airport. Each time he was at the farm there, he was observing how plane lands and take off. And so this young boy told himself that one day I'm going to fly in one of these aircrafts. He wanted to escape from poverty. The family happens to be very poor. The father is not there. The mother, who was working somewhere, had lost his shop to fire, outbreak. And so this boy was ready to break out of his comfort zone, out of his environment. He began to study the way these planes take off and they land. And so on that eventful day, he tiptoed into the airport. He was ready to take the risk of his life. The normal way people fly in the airline, he knew about it. You buy the ticket, you go through the process, you go through the screening, you get on board. He decided not to go that way. He was ready to take adventure. And so when he found himself inside the airport, close to the takeoff point, The pilot who was about to take off sighted him, called the control switch to say, "Somebody is here. Please attend to him. I don't know what he's doing here." Before those at the control tower could reach him, and the pilot was ready to take off, he tiptoed under the plane and clinched on the tire of the plane and was ready to take the risk of his life. That was how Daniel took off in that flight. A flight flew 10,000 kilometers above the sea level. Eventually landed in Lagos. He didn't know the destination. When he was interviewed, he said he thought the plane was actually flying overseas. So they landed in Lagos. And as soon as the plane landed, he jumped out from the main wheel of the plane. Of course, he was arrested. Many people wanted to take him to jail and all of that, reprimand him. And then some people took up and said, this guy is a genius and should be given opportunity to discover himself the more. That was how Lagos State government, Osun State government were ready to take up his sponsorship. And quickly, his state government in Benin, Edo City, decided to give him scholarship. In 2021, the last I heard about him, he was already in the university studying business management under the sponsorship of the state government. Now, that was the risk he took. That has helped him to a large extent be lifted out of poverty. Now, inasmuch as we condemn such criminal acts, it shows how creative human minds can be if we put our minds to task. I don't know about you. So how do you get out of the box? That's the problem, the question we're trying to solve here. This guy got out of the box. To go out of the box, we need something additional, something new. We need to take a little step away from the conventional approach. That was what Daniel did. Incidentally, the two stories I've shared now happen to share the same name, Daniel. Now, you need to go a little away from the conventional, doing something different, doing something that had been considered impossible before. And that is what we call divergence information. We need a little divergence information to expand our minds beyond what we already know to what we haven't considered before. Expanding it to what you already know to what you have not considered before. That is how you step out of the box. This is the necessary approach to get us from where we are to where we need to be, where we need to go, somewhere outside the box. Where will we get that idea that will be the solution we need? So, where is this out of the box? Where do you go when you are out of the box? It's totally unknown. It's unknown. You just get out of the box where you are comfortable, where you are connected, and somehow you step out. When you step out, you are isolated. It makes you think that you are making mistake. It makes you think that you are getting it wrong. It puts pressure on you to see if you will rush back into the box where you are very comfortable. Such temptation must be resisted at such point, because even people, your friends, your associates, may not understand you at such point. Go and ask those who have brought innovative ideas. People at a point may not understand exactly what they are doing. So you may have to resist such temptation to get back into the box. To think out of the box, we need to think, not just thinking smartly, but also thinking long. You need to be able to give yourself a long period of thinking. Where do you go when you are out of the box? Look for alternatives, not just the correct answer. When you are out of the box, you are not just looking for the correct answer. Of course, there is no single correct answer when thinking creatively. You begin to think of those things people think they are impossible. You think of all the numerous possibilities. When you have identified the possibilities, you start considering those things that are considered impossible. That is where to go. First, you identify all the possibilities, list them. Then try to think long. It may take you some days to identify all other alternative possibilities that are not yet listed or not yet considered by others. So that is where how to operate outside the box. Outside the box are the possibilities. Outside the box are the common ideas. Outside the box are things people know. You want to get a scholarship, there are normal ways to do it. You want to get a job, there are normal ways to do it. You want to start a business, there are normal ways to do it. Now, when you have listed those possible ways, common things people do, and keep them one side, think of what you have not considered. That is where to go when you are outside the box. So outside the box, you need to be focused, you need to be patient, and when you do, you will be surprised to discover new ideas and solutions you have never thought about. So, how do you assess the value of a new idea? When you have operated outside the box and new ideas have come, how do you value this new idea? It is really, really difficult. Why is it difficult? If indeed it is new, you cannot compare it with what you already know, because we value things by comparing them with benchmark. So now you don't have any benchmark, so to say. So because you have not seen that thing before, because people have not seen it before, not many have it, it becomes difficult to value it. So it is as if you've just landed in a new planet, totally undiscovered. Yes, we know the planets that are available, but you took off to land in to go to one of them, and you find yourself in a different planet, totally undiscovered. So how do you value what your idea is? How do you value that? Now, to assess your idea, to assess the value of the idea you have gotten outside the box, you have to look for the match between the common ideas and the new discovery. You are not looking for it because you want to bend, but you want to say, what are the common ideas here? And what is the new one I've discovered? To see if it solves the problem the common ideas are not addressing. And that problem may not even be the problem you set out to look for ab initio. It may be the problem another person is having, or another group of persons are having. Okay, so when you see that ideas, don't just judge it mainly on what you sought out to seek for. I may be looking for a solution to something on smartphone, and I take off outside the box to search for this, and then I may end up with a solution that is not addressing smartphone, rather addressing something else that is needed beyond smartphone. That is an invention. Okay, so that is where to go, or how to assess your ideas outside the box. When is the best time to get outside the box? When is the best time? Now, the best time happens, of course, when you are inside the box, you are very comfortable with what is happening. You are very comfortable with the ideas you have. And that is why you can hardly generate new ideas. That young man I shared with you from Edo City was no longer comfortable with the poverty level of his family. He began to think outside the box, and he came up with a solution. The guy I shared with you earlier that went through the University of California, he didn't know that assignment had been labeled unsolved problem, an impossible problem, and he was able to get an answer. So when you are ready to entertain divergence information, or you are able to create that environment that will allow divergence information, then you are ready to operate somewhere outside the box. Let me give you another example. At certain points, I was the director of a center somewhere, Center for Entrepreneurship. And I had some visitors that came from government to our office. The guy came all the way from Abuja, Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria, to the locality where I was staying. And incidentally, he was brought up around that area. He said in the morning of that day, he woke up and remembered his favorite childhood food. He loved eating pap and akara. Akara is beans cake. And so he didn't know how to go for about it. He was lodged in a classical hotel. So he was so sure the hotel would not have such kind of meal in their menu. So he, out of curiosity, he took his phone and Googled Akara in that locality. And that was how the name came up, Nwaya Akara, online. Nwaya Akara. He decided to open the page and saw it was an advert that if you need Akara and pap, order online and it will be supplied. He checked the price, it was 700 naira. He decided to take the risk. That after all, if it doesn't work, the risk worth taking. So he ordered online, made payment, and contacted the number there and said, I have made payment for this service. Surprisingly, in few minutes time, Akara and pap was delivered in his hotel room in that locality. He was so impressed. So when he called the number and asked the person, what are you doing? The young lady behind the arrangement says that she was a student, an undergraduate student in the university. And that was the same university where I served. So when he came around, he told me his story. So I put a call to the young lady and invited her to my office. And we began to ask her what led to that idea. He told us that he basically grew up with his mother, who was providing the service to people. The mom was selling pap and akara. So she got admission. As she was going into this university, she began to think, how else can I continue to make profit from that business, even though I may no longer be directly involved in the service? So that was how the idea came. She designed that page, Nwaya Akara online, and then invited a young man who drives tricycle, trained him, and entered an arrangement with him. As of then, his price was 200 naira for each delivery. So the price of pap and akara was 500. And so she went ahead to teach the mom how to package akara and pap in a 5-star way, in a classical way. And so that was what was happening. Each time you call her, though she was in the university as an undergraduate, she picks the call there, takes your order, relates to the mother, gives the address to the tricycle rider, and the guy goes to deliver. So she was making her money while she was there on campus. That is what it means to think out of the box. So you too can think out of the box. You can really think out of the box. Finally, many of us know about our plan A. And when our plan A has failed, we go for plan B. But I want to tell you today that if your plan A and plan B fail, don't give up. Don't forget that the alphabet has 24 more letters. Check it out. On the whole, it's 26 letters. So if A and B fail, please patiently seek for other alternatives. And I bet you, before you get to plan Z, many of us hardly see beyond plan B. Before you get to plan Z, you would be surprised at the creative idea you will come out with. Okay? So what is that challenge you are facing? What is that situation challenging you? What is that thing limiting you? What is that situation that you are trying to come out from? It is time to step outside the box. List the known alternatives that are common within the box and begin to think about those unknown alternatives somewhere outside the box. Begin to see if you can identify any of them that will address the situation challenging you. And I bet you, if you do, you will come out with great idea that will not only be a blessing to you, but a blessing to everybody around you. Thank you very much for participating in this discussion. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. All right? And we wish you the very best. Thank you. Merci. Dalo. Dalorinne. Cheers.